Okay, we are up at the start for the final NCAA event of the day, the Varsity 4. So in the lane closest to the camera, in lane 5, we will have Syracuse Varsity 4. Just inside of them, further from the camera, is in lane 4, the Rutgers Varsity 4. And furthest from the camera, in the yellow boat, in lane 3, will be the Princeton Varsity 4. So the final NCAA event of the day. Syracuse has raced Rutgers twice so far this season, once here at Lake Mercer on April 4th, and again in Ohio at the Big Ten Invitational. Syracuse has gotten the better of Rutgers in this event both times by about 5 seconds each time. So Syracuse will be looking to continue that trend, continue to assert themselves, while Rutgers will be looking for a bit of revenge and a second chance, or a third chance, as it were, in this situation, to show the work and the training they've been putting in. So we'll really see, as we move into May now and closer to championship racing, who's been able to make the biggest improvements. When you see a team multiple times, it gives a good gauge. So here we are, getting ready for the start. The flag is up. Attention, go. And we have a start in the Varsity 4 race. So nearest the camera, in the white boat, is Syracuse Varsity 4. In the middle, in lane 4, is Rutgers. In the far lane, lane 3, in the yellow boat, is Princeton. So in the first couple strokes, it was Rutgers that popped out to a slight advantage. But Syracuse has recovered nicely and quickly and has brought themselves back even and level with the Rutgers 4. So this should be a very competitive matchup here across all three boats. And Syracuse now moving into the lead in the first 250 meters of this race. Rutgers in second, over third place Princeton. Everybody within a couple seats, so still very close early on. As we move through 250 meters in, it's Syracuse, 2 seats over Rutgers, who's about 3 seats over Princeton. So in the first 500 meters here, we have Syracuse leading in the Varsity 4 event, slightly over Rutgers. Rutgers about 4 seats over Princeton. Margin is holding steady between all 3 of these boats. Very close. There's overlap, but it's Syracuse in first, Rutgers in second, Princeton in third, at about 400 meters into this boat race. Rutgers trying not to let the Syracuse boat get too far away from them here. As we cross through 500 meters, it's Syracuse in first, 1 minute and 48 seconds through the 500 meter mark. Rutgers about 3 or 4 seats behind, so about a second and a half behind. And then Princeton in third. There's overlap between all 3 of these boats, where Rutgers is a couple, 2-3 seats behind Syracuse. Syracuse trying to push out now as we enter the second quarter of this race. Princeton hanging on, hanging tough in third with overlap here. So in the 4, this will be a little bit longer of a race here, so there's a little more opportunity to do work over the entire 2,000 meters. So we're through about 650 meters into this race, and it still is Syracuse leading over Rutgers in second. Rutgers trying to push hard, trying to move and get back on terms with Syracuse, trying to push away from Princeton. Princeton is hanging and holding their margin on Rutgers. We're through about 750 meters. Let's check some stroke rates here. Syracuse, about 35 strokes per minute in the Syracuse 4. Rutgers, 35 and a half. Princeton a little lower, 32 and a half, 33. So let's see if Princeton has some room to go here in the second half of this race. Syracuse appears to be moving out slightly as they get closer to the 1,000. They're about 3, almost 4 seats is Syracuse leading over Rutgers, 900 meters into this boat race. Princeton trying to move back onto Rutgers. So here we are crossing the 1,000. It's Syracuse first across the 1,000 at about 3:39 over Rutgers. Again, all of these boats are in contact. All of them have overlap. This is very competitive now as we enter the second half. So let's see what is going to happen. The story of this race will be told in the second 1,000 meters now. These boats are both, all three, I should say, very consistent. The margins aren't changing much. If anything, Princeton has moved back on Rutgers, and Rutgers has slipped back relative to Syracuse now in the third quarter of this boat race. So coming up on 1,200 meters in, it's Syracuse trying to push into open water on Rutgers. Syracuse has about 4 or 5 seats lead now on Rutgers, and Rutgers trying to push back. Syracuse hanging right with them, so there's overlap between the bow deck and the stern deck of all three of these boats. So it's Syracuse about 4 or 5 seats over Rutgers, Rutgers about 4 or 5 seats over Princeton. There's less than 750 meters to go in this boat race, and it's tightening up. This is going to be a fantastic finish as we see which 4 can do the most work over the second half, the second 1,000 meters of this race. This is really going to come down to who's got the most consistent fitness in the second half. Rutgers trying to push into Syracuse as we have about 600 meters to go. Here comes Rutgers putting a move on. I think Rutgers just took a seat back on Syracuse. Syracuse continues to lead. Rutgers trying to push into Syracuse. Syracuse trying to hold them off. But here comes Rutgers, move back another half a seat. As we approach the last 500 meters, it's Syracuse across now, 5 minutes, 31 seconds, 500 meters to go. Rutgers about 3 seats behind them now with less than 500 meters to go. Here comes Rutgers, here comes Syracuse, and here comes Princeton. This is going to be a fantastic last 500 meters as Rutgers has moved back another half a seat with 450 meters to go. Here comes Rutgers. Rutgers is about a seat to a seat and a half down and moving. Rutgers has moved in the last 20 strokes. Rutgers is really pouring it on. You can see that Rutgers is giving it everything they've got now with about 400 meters to go in this boat race. Syracuse trying to push them away. This is really tightening up, and Princeton is not going away. Princeton is hanging right in there, and Princeton is moving on Syracuse. Princeton is moving. So it's Rutgers now. Maybe a slight lead on Syracuse, but it's close. This is going to be a 3-boat race all the way to the finish line. We're now into the red buoys, and we have less than 250 meters to go for all of these boats. This is the last minute of this boat race. And so here comes Syracuse, here comes Rutgers. This is too close to call, folks. Princeton less than a length behind. Princeton moving. Rutgers appears to be poking their bow ball out, but that's hard to tell from our angle. Syracuse moving. Princeton moving on Syracuse. It appears to be Rutgers in the lead with 20 strokes to go, but here comes Syracuse. They're not going away, and here comes Princeton. This is going to be a fantastic finish now. With less than 15 strokes to go, it appears to be Rutgers in the lead, but Princeton is charging hard. Princeton is charging hard. Princeton may have moved past Syracuse. Here comes Rutgers. Here comes Princeton. Princeton is moving. It's very close, all 3 boats. And that was too close to call. It looked like it was between Rutgers and Princeton in the end there. Syracuse led for most of that race. I don't think we know who the winner is. I think that's going to have to go to the video. But a fan.